everyone, and welcome back to my studying. Welcome back to The Gathering Storm, to Wheel of Time, a review. This time it's written by Sanderson, but of course was started, so to say, at least from the idea point, by Robert Jordan. Now, it's been a while, and as a preface, please bear with me if I say something very stupid, which of course I probably will. And I would like to recap the plot of this large, long book. Not as large and not as long as the previous two, but it's in that sort of level. So, we have Perrin, and when it comes to Perrin, he travels to a place near Altara with a lot of refugees, with thousands of refugees, in fact. And there he meets Galad, and there they exchange information about Morghese and her whereabouts and everything else. So then he starts to go to Camelin, and on the way there he meets Varen. Varen offers to help, but the promise being that he has to wait for 30 days to open a letter that was addressed to him from her. And then after this promise has been fulfilled, she helps him and the refugees and opens a gateway and leads them through. This is as far as Perrin is concerned for this time. When it comes to Rand, he is unsuccessfully trying to, I guess, make ways in Arad Doman. And one of his kind of attempts to get some peace and maybe quiet is to have a meeting with Tuon to negotiate a truce. And technically this is not a bad idea, because Shanshan have suffered some great losses as well. But Tuon is very arrogant and sort of at the last moment decides that she is his better and he is the one who must submit to her. And in fact, she's so arrogant that she proclaims herself to be an empress, and in her grand wisdom decides to pillage the White Tower, or at least make an attempt. So that's as far this goes. In the waking world, in the Terran Andriod, which I don't know if it was Terran Andriod or it was just dream as a dream, but a prophetic dream or whatever. Probably was Terran Andriod. Maybe I missed something. Anyway, Rand meets Moradin, just casually, as one does when they close their eyes. And Moradin starts to give him information about Dark One. For example, that Dark One can resurrect the Forsaken, which is a huge information, I think, and I'll be theorizing about it at the other section of this video. So, other thing that happens is our favorite, I want to say sociopathic, but all of them are sociopathic, if you can even describe Murdrell as sociopathic. Our favorite scary monster man, Shider Haran, frees Samiraj, and she actually manages to put the controlling color on Rand, Adam. But it's Rand we're talking about. So Rand kind of goes, Super Saiyan, or embraces Axis's true power and just explodes it. And as a bonus, he balefires Semirage, and in a fit of rage confronts Katsuane, and actually is so angry with her that he banishes her, and because in his eyes she failed him, and I think it is fair in a way, and tells her that next time he sees her, if he sees her, he's gonna kill her and just, go away, out of my sight. I don't want to see you. I don't want to think about you. You're trash. Go away. Back with Avienda. Avienda leaves for the Oasis and actually finishes her initiation to become a wise one by going through those glass column things, which is good for her. Not much of her in this book at all, but it's nice to know that she kind of leveled up. And then back to my favorite character, Nynaeve, who helps Rand to discover the whereabouts of Graendal. And they travel there, and Rand, who is at this point quite trigger happy with balefires her, which I guess he's on a streak, a winning streak, I don't know. So after this brutal deed, he goes to Arad Doman, and he tries to have a meeting with local politicians in Borderland, but they don't want to meet him there. They want to meet him in Farmadding. So he orders them to do their job and control the blight. So that's about that. And another shocking thing happens. So after this whole thing about blight and people in the Borderland being stubborn, he meets Tam al'Thor, his adopted father. And Tam is actually super cool and super chill and gives some very, I wouldn't say reassuring advice, but wise advice in for lack of a better description. He gives some leveled advice to Rand. He doesn't sugarcoat it or kind of bores him with sayings or anything like that. He gives him some leveled advice, and Rand listens to him kind of, but also kind of tries to kill him, which is pretty shocking scene, I have to say. Very well written one, but pretty shocking one. And he doesn't kill Tam, thankfully. He stops at the very last moment, but he kind of sobers up a bit after all of the blood rage of balefiring a bunch of people, and goes to Abu Dar to finally deal with Shanshan, hopefully. So he goes to Dragonmount before trying to use Choindan Kal, something like that. It's an Angreal, I think. And he kind of, before he uses this Terangreal, he travels to Dragonmount and kind of has this introspective moment where he screams into the void of, why are we even bothering? This is all futile, the fighting and everything. The cycle just will continue, this and that. But after enough screaming, he actually comes to his senses and kind of has a revelation that, yeah, life is pretty good. I mean, I have a harem of 3 women who are crazy about me. I'm pretty rich and successful and handsome, so maybe life is good. So, back to Egwene, which is probably the star of this book, I would say, if one can say such a thing. So we are in the tower. The scene is in the tower. Egwene meets Aes Sedai and pisses Elaida off, who kind of beats her, which is stopped by Sylviana, who is mistress of the novices for Elaida, which I admit I kind of thought that she was a dark friend, like in disguise, but apparently she isn't. So Sylviana tries to protect Egwene and is in return imprisoned. So Egwene then returns to her own quarters to find Verin there. And the whole mind-blowing thing about this book revolves around Verin. So Verin violates the first oath in front of Egwene. Egwene kind of gives the benefit of the doubt first, but Verin herself admits that she had her oaths removed when she became Black Aja. Yes, she is Black Aja. So Verin then, very calmly, thanks Egwene for her work in the tower and starts to give this lecture, very informed lecture about Dark One, his weaknesses, his flaws, his secrets. And then she tells why she joined Black Aja in the first place. She says that it was out of self-preservation. And then after that, it kind of devolved into an academic interest. So she decided to study Black Aja and Dark One. So she conveniently, I have to say, reveals that she will die in an hour because she is drinking poison tea as they're speaking. And Dark One requires loyalty up until the last hour of one's death. So the information she's divulging now, she's divulging freely without any shackles of the Dark One. And also the reason why she's killing herself is because ultimately she could not find a way to remove her oaths to the Dark One. Because she could not find an oath rod that was done when she was joining Black Aja, I suppose. So as a parting gift, before dying, she gives Egwene 2 books. One is in some kind of secret script codes, and the other one is a tool to decode it. And it contains a list of Black Aja sisters and things like that. Important conspiracy stuff. And in her dying breath, she also says that Missana is still in the tower and she is still a threat. So Egwene then goes to work, studies hard, and decodes pretty much everything, uncovers the list of names, and surprisingly to her, not to us, the reader, she sees that Elaida was not on the list of Black Aja, which I guess means that, well, Elaida is just that arrogant and that gullible and that stupid. Egwene then shares the news with Meidani that Verin is dead and was Black Aja. And the scene was then violently ruined by Gavin storming the castle. Well, hold on. So Shan-Chan are attacking the White Tower. As I said, Shan-Chan decided to just invade and pillage White Tower. So they attack. Egwene is leading the defense, and she is rallying both novices and the accepted to defend, and she saves a lot of sisters. And Elida is then captured by Sean-chan, but Siwan, Sanche, and Gavin rescue ultimately Egwene, even though she wasn't all that into it, which I don't know what was up with that. And when all of the dust is settled and Sean-chan is repelled, and of course I have to add that Gavin actually left Younglings to join the rebels because he was that loyal to Egwene, I guess. So after all of the dust is settled, all of the Ajas, the leaders, the heads, they meet, and they all unanimously pretty much decide that Egwene should be the next Emerlin, because they simply cannot make any sort of agreement on any other candidate. And which of course means that all of the Reds are gone. So all of the Ajas minus the Reds are gone. And the camp of the rebels has captured the Black Aja sisters, which are arrested and then promptly executed. And a few of them do escape. That's important. A few of them do escape, and Egwene is then raised to be the Emerlin. And yeah, that's about that when it comes to the plot of this book. Now, that was the plot of the book. I have a lot of things to say about expectations and likes and dislikes and questions I have, so let's get started. So first of all, one of the leaders in the battle was the General Rodel Itul-Ralde, and I actually expected for him to die like heroically in battle, because he kind of came off as heroically suicidal in the book. That was the impression I got. I mean, I know he's not that major of a character, but still, I like him as a character, and he lived. What did I not expect was to Varen to die, and certainly not in a manner that she died, which is by suicide. I had kind of half expected her to be shady and to be maybe a dark friend, but not like this, not in this, within this context. Also, I did not see Tam, to be honest. I also did not expect Rand to have such an outburst with Tam, and at Tam of all people. We saw Rand lashing out at people, and especially yes, at people who are near and dear to him, but this was pretty shocking. And let's now move on to things that I liked. So, I know I've criticized Egwene's chapters and the way she was characterized in the past. I think that narratively, the culmination of her character as a leader, as an Aes Sedai, is and was worth it, ultimately, I think. Because in a sense, her leadership was forged through fire. I'm sure she'll be prone to mistakes like any other leader would be, but her authority when she was rallying the younger sisters was pretty much absolute. She was very confident and very competent in it. So it might be that she is a great Aes Sedai, but maybe ultimately not the greatest person, at least when it comes to interpersonal relationships. And you know, that's a flaw, an interesting flaw, and it balances out. You know, at one hand, she is very capable at her job, but on the other hand, she's not that great with people. So, also, like for example, the way she dealt with Sheriam by shielding her and everything when they were interrogating Black Ajas was pretty brilliant. It was brutal. The aftermath was brutal, but the way she handled Shiri was brutal. Let's talk about Varen. Where to start? So I mentioned that there was some, if not a lot of foreshadowing in the past books that Varen might be a double agent of some kind or an independent agent of some kind. Being outside of the norm of all other Sedai, she always seemed very different in her approach to channelers, to the Taviran, everyone else, really. So ultimately, I did not 100% expected her to be a Black Aja, but I did not exclude that possibility. So when it was revealed, that did not shock me. The background of it did. So yes, what I liked about this was the reason for her treason was actually, in fact, bravery of a sort. Because it takes a special kind of bravery and maybe insanity to study the Dark One and dedicate her life to document it and give our heroes some crucial information about him. So it's kind of like she was playing 5D chess. She was having one of those gambits, Thanatos gambit. Yeah. So the things I disliked. This is a minor complaint, but with the rotation of character point of views being what it is from one book to another, and books usually being parallel to one another, I understand why some books are less and more centric around specific characters. I would have liked to have more Nynaeve in the chapters in this book, because, well, actually, I don't even need to have Nynaeve point of view chapter. I just like her interaction with people in general, with pretty much anyone. I find it really compelling. The thing I disliked more was actually a small detail around Varen's death. So the reveal and the background was great. The bit about loyalty until the final hour of death felt quite contrived. So I understand from a sort of macro level narrative sense, her dying an hour after taking the poison so she could have time to deliver all of this exposition was to set up a payoff to her character. But the way it was telegraphed felt too convenient. So it felt like Jordan was going, oh, so I have developed this character and now it's going to be a payoff, but also I have to take her off the board. What do? I know, I don't think it was mentioned until now, that if you take the oaths to the Dark One, if you decide to die, he doesn't have a grasp over you, a hold over you on your final hour, which feels convenient. Because, oh, well, I have an hour to live, better repent for my sins and deliver crucial information to a character who will have a use for this crucial information and it will help them on their quest. That felt too convenient, too cute. Just for my taste, at least. And my last dislike is Gavin because he exists and I don't like him. Galad is not a pleasant person, but he's not that much in this book. So I have to blame someone, and I blame Gavin. For what do I blame him for? Just everything. He's the one at fault. Because he's the worst. So anyway, next two questions. It's a kind of a minor question, a not very relevant one. So at one point of the book, at the beginning, I think, Perrin and Galad interact. And was this the first time they interacted in the book? Um, it's more of a, I guess, my own personal preference, where I like when characters who are seemingly quite distant and would not normally interact actually do meet and interact. Like, one often imagines how seemingly distant characters, story-wise, interact if they had a chance to meet. So yeah, did they interact? Hypothetically, what other two characters that never interacted in Wheel of Time series would you like to interact? This is my question to you. My other question is about Dark One. So we find that Dark One can resurrect Forsaken. So this opens a lot of possibilities. There are a lot of implications to this information. So will he just bring anyone like this? Will he bring back Grendel, even though she was balefired? Does balefire remove that possibility? If the Forsaken was not balefired and just killed, are they resurrected as they were in this current reincarnation, or they are returned in the next cycle? So how does that work? Can he bring back anyone else? So yeah, that's my question about Dark One. Narratively, and this is a narrative question, not a lore question, so to say. What was actually the narrative purpose of Shanshan capturing Elida? Because we already had more than a few examples of prominent female characters of Aes Sedai being captured by the Shanshan and disciplined in a way, trying to control them in many ways. So it kind of feels repetitive from a narrative standpoint. It's not a negative or a positive. I'm just curious, will there be a payoff to her character? Because if she's just unceremoniously killed in the next book, then what was even the point? My next question is, will there be repercussions for the Black Aja that fled? Now, I understand that Black Aja that managed to escape, the few of them weren't all that strong or significant. So maybe this is an irrelevant question, but we've seen how Black Aja are treated for their failure by their master. So will he be, or will we just never hear about them ever again? My last question is, and this is probably a very stupid question. So at one point, near the end of the book, Rand tries to balefire a building. Yes, a freaking castle. So he is sick in that moment, so he fails to balefire a castle. But can he balefire a castle? How would that even work? How can you balefire, remove, delete a location from the pattern? I mean, it's not like buildings reincarnate. Can you balefire a mountain and then in the next cycle it's just, a meadow? How does that work? Yeah, I know it's a stupid question, and probably I'm thinking too much into it, but I can't help. I have a strange brain. So my last segment is, as always, predictions. So my one and only prediction here is that in the next book, Padan Fain will make a move. We haven't seen him in some time, so he'll probably do something vile and maybe die in the next book. Maybe. So yeah, that's about it. tell me what you think about this book, because I quite liked it. To conclude, this is a book where it's very visible and it's very clear, and my dog is going crazy. Where are you, dog? Hi, dog. Hi, Tara. Say hi to the internet. Yes. So this is a book where it's very visible that Brandon Sanderson had different priorities when it comes to writing. He moves the plot forward quickly and efficiently, and different pieces on the board are moved in a way that makes sense. So from just a pure constructed view, it's a very satisfying book to read. It's not that strong on characterization, but it doesn't have to be, because that's not the point of this book. We have developed characters quite a bit. This is book number 12. Short of Egwene, I think everyone else is, I think, the type of person they will be until the end. Bless you, Tara. So, yeah, it's great. I think I liked it on the same level as the last one, if not slightly more, only because it was so efficient in its storytelling. And if you probably noticed that I haven't complained about the epilogue, because the epilogue worked as a proper epilogue and not just as a mini novella, or not even a novella, a full-length novella that had no place to have in already huge novel. So that's about it from me. I want to thank all of my supporters on Patreon. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, E. Thank you, Kate. And if you want to support me on Patreon, please do. The link is in description. If not, that's also okay. Please do subscribe to this channel if you are so inclined, and see you next time. Bye bye.